So, welcome everyone to another episode of Sacred You. And today I'm interviewing Anna Estrada. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, Rachel. It's great to be here with you.
So, we already have a kind of relationship without actually meeting, don't we? Because we've seen each other over Facebook and on YouTube and all these kind of social media things.
Yes, it's amazing. The communication that we have these days is brilliant. It's incredible. So yes, I feel like I know you already.
Well, I have to tell you. So, I don't know where you came from, but one day there you were on my Facebook page, and I was looking at you and I thought, "Oh, I love her energy. What a lovely energy." And I thought, "Oh, is something happening here?" And I looked at your website and there was all these bright greens going on, and I thought, "Oh, this is Sarah. There's this Sarah energy." And I looked on your website, but I couldn't see anything Sarah. And I really wanted to write to you and ask you, and I thought, "Oh, I can't." I can't I couldn't bring myself to. But then a couple of months later, someone I know came on the Sarah Circle group that I have, and she did something with me, and she said, "Oh, Anna Estrada told me about your Sarah group." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, she works with Sarah." And I was like, "I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I should have written to you."
Yes, I know exactly who that was. And yes, because I have been working with Sarah. So
Yeah,
absolutely, you saw her energy there.
yeah.
She's coming forth very strongly in these times of polarity that we're experiencing in the world. That is her expertise, the sacred marriage. So she's coming forth. And but the added treat of working with Sarah has been to really tap into my galactic self, and to start receiving these transmissions and communication from the different star people and different galaxies and beings of light that are supporting us as we go through this transformation here. And so it's a very powerful energy of creativity and expansion that comes from this sacred marriage, this fusion, this balancing of the masculine and the feminine. And then we have this tremendous release of creative expression that occurs. So she's really guiding me to navigate that transformation.
Wow, I could just as you're talking, just like the energies, it's just like so amazing. So like for people listening who don't know who Sarah is, she's a new ascended master, and she's come in for the age of Aquarius. She's come in to mentor us, to walk by our sides. And she's a daughter of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. And as Anna was saying, she's got this whole sacred masculine feminine integration thing going on. And it's just we've jumped right in at the deep end here, haven't we? Could you say a bit more about this galactic energy that you're
Mhm.
working with her? Because it's just fantastic when you talk about it.
Yes. So it's a lineage that I am a part of, and you are a part of, for sure. And so the beings of light, the ascended masters that we know that we're so familiar with, of course, are Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, and the mother of Mother Mary, which is Anna, and then Sarah. And these are the beings which is she is the cosmic star child. The She is the expression of the sacred marriage of Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. And so when we tap into the lineage, that's when we tap into this galactic uh, um, energy stream that we can use, that comes forth to support us as we go through our alchemical transformation. And that is raising the vibration of matter, raising the vibration of the body, so that we can land as spirit we can land, this very high vibration of spirit can land into the body. So we become embodied and sovereign beings of light. And so that's the process that I experience. So it's very interesting because it's not about leaving my body and flying around and connect and going visiting other galaxies. It's becoming embodied, and then from that place of groundedness and this very solid, secure, unshakable connection to the ascended Gaia, we that's when we shamanically travel in these inner realms. So these dimensions are interior.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that term, cosmic star child.
Yes.
It says the whole thing about her. And yeah, I'm totally with you on that embodied thing. Yeah, I've called the work, one of the things I'm doing with her, it's an embodied ascension path. Because the problem with the word ascension is it sounds as if we're trying to lift off and out, and it's like, no, 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 no. We need to be here on the earth, like bringing all the goodness down here, because this is where it's needed. Boy, you know, is it needed?
Yes, absolutely. And there are different dimensions that we experience here. So we can be living in the ascended Gaia, or we're living in the past, these timelines that are collapsing at this time. And so all of the work that we're doing with our ascended masters and with the galactic Magdalene lineage is to stabilize in this 5-dimensional reality of the ascended Gaia. So then we move beyond. It's like we have these experiences that are beyond the filters of the mind and the emotions, and we have this, we stabilize in this multidimensionality, and this experience of bliss, you know, just really this equanimity. So through the sacred marriage, we no longer have our ups and downs. It's more stable. You know, we enter into this equanimity, and then when we hold space, and that's when we're able to hold the light for the planet to assist.
Yeah.
In holding space for the transformation, because we're solid, we're stable, and we're in balance. So this whole, all of these, this is what I've learned during this this incredible paradigm shift that's occurring all over the world. That has been the great teaching, is coming into balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And something happened last year that I felt around March, when, you know, the COVID thing all started happening. And there was this incredible lightening of energy with working with Sarah. Because
Yes.
I've been working with her for 15 years, and there has been a lot of density to work through. And I think that was the earth layer. And it was also like she was coming back in time. Well, she was coming back in time. She wasn't actually, it was like her presence, which is sort of was grounded in the future, was like bouncing back to the past. And that was what we were tuning into, because some of us needed to prepare a bit earlier. and I was one of them. And one of my oldest friends who supported me right back at the very earliest times of working with Sarah, I spoke to her yesterday, and I hadn't spoken to her for a while because I'm in Denmark now. I don't live in the UK anymore. And she said, wow, the energy's just so much lighter around you and Sarah. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad you said that. And then I realized, because I thought perhaps it was just me, you know, because like perhaps I'd moved through a layer of, and I realized, no, this is not just me. Of course it wasn't just me. It's a much, much bigger thing. And I just feel like Sarah, honestly, is just like, she's coming into her time now completely.
Yes, amazing. You know, many of us light workers have been through a lot, let's just say. And so I completely understand what you're talking about, that we just really had a mission where we did a lot of work to move through so much density to get to this place where, you know, now we're really supporting the divine presence in this global transformation. And so when things appear to be pretty, you know, light and low key in the outer world, that's when I also was going through tremendous purification processes. These are purification processes where I spent time, you know, working with different light workers, and I actually spent a lot of time in the Amazon jungle, working with nature, working with Gaia, working with plants, and doing these purification, very profound purification processes that where we were purifying patterns that are very deep rooted in the collective and very deep rooted in the core separation, experience of separation from our own divine self. So that's the core of all of suffering, you know, that we believe we're separate from the divine. And so all of these purification processes, and there's many different ways to do it. Taking your course, the ascension, the embodied ascension, that is a purification process that you're offering. So it doesn't have to be so hardcore of going into the jungle. So there's so much available. I'm offering a course myself called the Illumination Codes, where we do have a module working with Sarah, the cosmic star child. And so it's a little bit, it's in certain dimensions, there is a lot of light and a lot of support to go through this process of purification that we need to go through in order to stabilize in the ascended Gaia.
Yeah. And because we actually have something else in common there as well. And I you might not know about this, but Pele.
Pele. I love Pele. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She comes into my work a lot. A
Yeah.
lot. Because
Yeah.
I connected with her in 2005. I went to the big island of Hawaii, and it
Oh,
just, you know, I had no idea what I was getting into when I went there. But I mean, I literally came back like someone who was just on a, I wouldn't say I came back a changed person, because it took me several years but you know, it came back. The energetic change happened while I was there. I connected with her, and basically she came back with me. and
yeah.
I worked with her for several years on clearing. And whenever she's part of my toolbox, you know, whenever I need her, Pele is there, and she's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
You know, we do have so much in common, Rachel, because that was my first sacred place. I spent a lot of time there in 1999. I went several times to the Big Island, and that really began my purification process. And I understand, I did not know what I was getting into, because when you enter into that land, and it is a dark mother vibration, so it will bring forth whatever needs to come to the surface. And so, you know, all the unconscious material that are like filters in our experience, and sometimes it's not pleasant to go through those purifications, because you're experiencing very deep-rooted states of separation. And so it shows up in these very, very challenging feelings of unworthiness, of being an outsider, of being abandoned. All of those kinds of very challenging feelings arise, and those are vibrations of separation. So Pele does offer that rotor-rooter, you know, you know, just this very deep unraveling. That vibration of the Big Island is so, it's like the most potent creative life force energy on the planet, because it's the energy that comes forth to create land, to create earth. So it's so potent. So just stepping foot on the island, you start to have these very deep purification processes, which sometimes are very difficult. So it's definitely an initiation.
Yeah.
The Pele vibration is a very potent initiation into the ascension process.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, sister. I'm with
I do.
you.
I have to say, I totally feel like we're sisters. I really,
Oh my
really do.
gosh.
Yeah. And I just wanted to share with people that you have a really lovely journey with Pele, and it's a Lemurian thing, isn't it? On New Earth One, that people can go and do that
Yes,
for free and
yes.
try it out.
Virtual pilgrimage to Lemuria. And it's a what I call virtual pilgrimage, which it's a concept that I've been developing since we had the lockdown, because I had for a few years I had a sacred travel company, and so that has evolved into virtual pilgrimage, and so that is one that I offer. You can also tap into some of these journeys on my YouTube channel. And so that one is a journey to Pele, and working with the dolphin vibration as well. I call them her dolphin devotees. So the dolphin vibration is joy, ecstatic joy. So it makes the purification, it softens the purification process, is
Yeah.
working with joy, the vibration of pure joy that the dolphins bring forth.
Yeah.
So that's a great, beautiful journey that's available. And I also offer a process called the 7 Sacred Stones, and the first module is Pele, and it's the awakening energy, the power stone. And this is a foundation of power inside of you. We cultivate this foundation of power. So we began with Pele
Of
and this
course.
power stone,
Yeah.
and this the awakening of the Kundalini in the body. And then there's Ochun, which is an African goddess, and there we work with ancestral healing and water, the element of water. And so there, it's a process of working with these different goddess archetypes, and it's completely multicultural. So there is also Pachamama, who's the Earth Mother from Peru, and one of the modules also is the Magdalene lineage, and working with sacred sites in Egypt, because they had initiations. Anna and Mary and the Magdalenes had initiations with the Hathors in Egypt. So we work with Egypt on our virtual pilgrimages and have these initiations at these sacred sites. So that whole, the 7 Sacred Stones is a virtual pilgrimage extravaganza, let's say. It's an amazing experience
Yeah.
to go through the process.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And I'd really recommend, working with Anna, because, she can help be the bridge to connect you up to these energies. And yeah, we can't travel at the moment, but you can connect through this bridge of energy. And also you don't have to worry about like carbon dioxide or anything, it's like, yeah,
I have traveled a little bit,
me
and
too. Yeah.
I had, Rachel, I had planned a beautiful journey to Ireland for 2021, because who's there, Bridget, and but that's postponed until 2022. And so I am exploring places, because I live in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So it's a very sacred land here in the East Coast of the United States. So we're going to be exploring, jumping in the car and driving instead of getting on a plane and going
Yeah.
through all of that,
Yeah.
And so again, just taking every restriction as an opportunity. So we're creating sacred land, sacred space in our homes. Our body becomes a sacred site. So that's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
Each of us are in a very specific place. It's not an accident,
Yeah.
that you're in where you are. Where you are is a
Exactly.
very sacred area.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw that in your ebook. I downloaded your ebook that you
Oh,
offer free on your website. And
yes.
one of the first chapters is, the thing about your backyard is a sacred site. And I was like, oh, yes, she really is my sister. Because this is one of the things that I teach and feel very strongly. And also from a shamanic sense, I teach people how to root into their own piece of land where they live, because actually that makes you much stronger as, a healer or a shaman or, psychic or whatever. You have your own power then, and then you can do your work is just like can grow incredibly because you have this. And shamans knew that, and that's a lot of them didn't like to travel that much. They wanted to stay like where they were. But I mean, I think in this time and age, I think, for some of us who are, I like to call us earth engineers, some of us do need to travel physically to power places and sacred sites, because there is a lot you can do working distantly, but sometimes the work is so serious and so deep, you need to be there because there's a lot of damage to
Mhm.
heal. And that damage, it's not earth's damage, it's like what humanity has has created through not being in right relationship. And I'm not really into let's all feel bad about that or guilty, but on the other hand, let's take responsibility for it, and also realize that part of our coming into our mastery is realizing wasn't just the Lemurians or the Atlanteans that could do this. We are the Lemurians and the Atlanteans. And
Sure.
some of us are genetically engineered, is in our DNA to go and fix this stuff. And sometimes you got to be there physically. And I say to people, be very careful what you do distantly. If you're there physically, then yes, do it, because you're meant to do it if you're there physically. But distantly, I would be, I always tell people to be cautious and only do it if their guidance is 100% telling them to work with these things.
Yes, I agree. I had this experience a few years ago. I guess it was 2017, where I went to Spain and I was visiting sacred sites of the Black Madonna. That was my purpose, my mission was to visit with the Black Madonna. And and so what happened was is that I was there, and I at that time I lived in the Caribbean area in Florida. So that's the Caribbean. And so what happened was is there was this huge hurricane when I was in Spain. One of these really big storms where people have to evacuate, and it's a crisis, really. And it was a monster, really coming, barreling towards the coast. And I could see in Spain that I was called to be there in that moment, because we were doing a lot of clearing about the Spanish conquest and the African diaspora and the slave trade that occurred there in that area in the Caribbean. And so this hurricane was sweeping. It was like resetting the energy of the region. And I was holding space. I was creating that bridge to do that healing work of that collective wound, and so yes, we are called, and we're called by the site. There are very specific entities that reside there, and beings of light that reside there, and then we have like a reciprocity. So we're receiving, and then we're offering devotion and blessings. So there's a reciprocity. And then from there, I spent time in the south of France, and Marie de la Mer. There's a lot of devotion for Sarah there. And I spent time also in La Baume, which has a which is said to be one of the dwelling places of Mary Magdalene in the south of France. So all those places are activated inside of me. So when I come to my home, that's there. We create like ley lines from these sacred places. So all of those initiations of the Magdalene lineage, then I install and anchor into the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so then there's these ley lines that are created and grids, and so where all the light workers are connecting. And so it's a very beautiful practice that that we all are called to do. You receive a calling, and then you just go when the time is right.
Yeah, exactly. It just all comes together, and suddenly you're in this place going, wow, I'm really here. How did this
Yeah.
happen? Yeah.
And
But
some of these
that's it.
places
Yeah.
are stunning. They're just absolutely beautiful. And you just feel the devotion because they become sacred from hundreds of years of people visiting. And many of the sites that in Europe, for example, are built on top of, ancient sites of the goddess. And so there's like that the different generations and the different layers and timelines. So that's really beautiful to experience as well.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And yeah, I mean, my traveling has really come to a standstill for quite a few years now since I moved to Denmark. And it's such a special place where I'm living, and there's springs everywhere and there's ley lines going on, and it's just awakening. It's been asleep for a long, long time, and people don't know about it, and people have forgotten, how to observe these ancient ways of working with spring energy. And especially here, because the Protestant movement across this part of Europe was particularly harsh, and it was completely stamped out because, you know, not far from here, there was a big pagan center at one time at a place called Lyra, which is just up the road. And then
Mm.
this bit here where we live in now, it wasn't populated. But when the pagan place sort of, that conversion between paganism and Christianity, they came here to Roskilde and built church. It was just churches everywhere. And this became like the Christian center of Denmark. And like when you walk around the town, it's like, I just go around and I think, I'm walking on holy ground. I'm walking on holy ground. And it's just so magical. And I've done some tours and I've written a guidebook and things, but it's still not quite awake. It still needs a little bit more time. But it's just amazing how, like, I mean, obviously this hasn't happened by accident, but like through all the traveling I did in the years, and like slowly I woke up to realizing that I could read like energy landscapes because it was, it just happened. Like no one taught me it, and I had to realize that's what I was doing, that it wasn't something that everybody did. And then I came here and I'm like, oh, that bit over there, that's really messed up. That bit over there, that's amazing. Because the thing is with power places is they are amoral, I suppose. Energy is energy, and they will collect in negative energy and positive energy depending on what is flowing through them. And because they're power places, things that so much energy is flowing through. So if there's been some battle site near, and then somebody else did something and then it'll just build up until it's just this huge like blockage in their energy system, and it's like, we have to work with this stuff. People say, oh, well, the earth can sort it all out. And I'm like, I'm not sure it's the earth's job. Actually, we
Mm.
made this stuff, and it's something that people used to do, like, connecting like with the old Norse ancestors here. they knew about this stuff. They knew how to do this, but we've just forgotten it in the last couple of thousand years. We got so left-brained and technological. We just lost touch with it.
Yeah.
But there's so many people who just under the surface, if they just drop down a little bit, it all starts coming back to them. And I think we're in a big process of remembering all of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I get the feeling that Denmark's an amazing place. I would love to visit you there.
Yeah, oh, please come.
This
And
is a great.
Sweden and Norway, Scandinavia is
Oh my gosh.
something's going on with the energies where it's just awakening. And I'm not saying like it was dark before or anything. It's more that the new earth bit, like Glastonbury has been online for a while now, which is why all those people came to Chalice Well and created this whole thing. And then other, because every place awakens when humanity is at the right stage of like being able to connect with that energy. And whatever is happening here in Scandinavia, it's like the latest thing that's sort of coming online, that I'm aware of, because I'm sure things are happening all over the earth. I'm just in my little bit of the planet looking out.
Yes. Yeah, amazing. It's interesting because one of the ways that we can, like a practical way that we can work with those types of energies of, like, collective energies that have to do with war and I mean, in the Americas, you feel it a lot. The conquest energy, and when you go deep, that starts to come forth, and you experience it in the earth. And so one of the ways to work with that in the daily life, bringing it into the daily life, is working with these emotional triggers that are coming up a lot. At least here in the United States, there's a lot of upheaval, emotional upheaval, a lot of division that's occurring. And so, one of the things that we can do, instead of, because there's a tendency to just be like, oh my gosh, we're so divided. And then that's it. But you know what? We can work on that. Like, where do we feel that inside ourselves? How is it coming up in our conversations with loved ones, with coworkers? Like when you have a conversation where there's this very strong charged disagreement, it's a great opportunity to work that energy of division and go deeper into union, go deeper into the sacred marriage, simply by acknowledging that energy is inside in the heart, as opposed to spending a lot of time figuring it out, like who's right and who's wrong, and she said this and I said this, and those types of ways of coping really with challenging feelings. Bringing it inside. Where is it in the body? Where are you feeling this energy? In the heart. Like, I often, when I tap into that kind of thing, I often feel it in the heart, like a actual pain, because the heart is expanding. And in that moment, I have a choice. Do I, really go deep into that energy of separation? Do that healing work with the support of Sarah or the ascended masters that come forth, because we're not alone when we do this work. We're totally supported. Or do I simply jump on the bandwagon and start thinking about who's right and who's wrong and why is this and who's doing this, and like that kind of thing, which is the common coping mechanism. And then we just never get to the root of it. It just snowballs into another crisis, pretty much. So we have an opportunity with each time we feel restricted or oppressed or divided or misunderstood is another big one. Like we feel like I'm not being heard, I can't express, I'm not being received. Those kinds of vibrations of separation. We can use those experiences as an opportunity, because what happens, it gets lit up in the inner quantum field. It gets triggered. And so it's very clear. We can really see it. And then that's when we can do the purification work
I
if
love
we
that. Yeah.
be with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really beautiful because it's like, you know, I used to be a nurse and I'm very much like, well, what's the point of all this spirituality? Can it do something in my everyday life? I'm always asking, but what's the point of this? How can I use it? And being really, really pragmatic. And you're also like, just it's so beautiful. You're describing these ways of like, and this is how we use it. It's not just something to read about or meditate on for 5 minutes. These are ways of like living. But I'd really like to sort of go backwards a little bit and just hear a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, how life has been for you, really.
Okay. Wow. Well, um, my family background, my family's from Cuba. So they immigrated to the United States in the 50s, 59. And then I was born in the United States. So, that was a very traumatic time for my parents and for my family because they chose to, they chose to leave a totalitarian dictatorship. So it was very intense, and there was a lot of trauma that occurred in Cuba before they left and then when they arrived, because they were completely ripped away from all their roots and their way of being. Um, and so they received political asylum in the United States, and so I grew up in the United States, and so you know that intensity was hard for me to process because I'm sensitive, and so I learned all these different patterns of coping emotionally. I didn't know how to navigate. And so that led to certain experiences that where I really had to, I really shut down a lot of my abilities and gifts, and was completely, did not know how to manage my emotions was the main issue. And so through the years, that kind of built up and became a healing crisis for me. And that showed up in, that things just weren't working. I was trying to accomplish certain things that didn't work out, and certain relationships didn't work out. And so I was not aligned. I was not in alignment with myself. I didn't know myself. I had abandoned that deep part of myself, and that divine part of myself. I didn't know it at all, and I was just really trying to conform and go along with what I thought was the way I was supposed to be. And so, but in all that, I did discover I studied art history in university and worked in art museums. So that has been a beautiful path for me. And so when I lived in New York, I briefly worked at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And that's when I discovered African art and art of the Americas and art from India. And I started to be very interested in what they refer to as non-Western art, that is art that is not influenced by Europe, is what that means. And so these tribal cultures, and where art is a part of their spirituality. And that's how I really started tapping into um, these different cultures that had a more expanded and inclusive vision of the divine. And I explored all the world religions and did graduate work studying the world religions and studying these different archetypes of the goddess, the divine feminine, studying earth-based cultures and the art making processes in those cultures. So I spent a lot of time in that very deep study, and I was um, very hermit-like, I guess, in some ways, and where I was just really diving deep into that knowledge, and and so that shifted quite a bit when I started. I worked on this project in the Amazon jungle. I was working with women shaman and the art that they produce, the textiles, the weaving, and they also do these different it's like the cosmological vision of the culture. And so it's sacred geometry. And so they create these textiles that visually express these sound vibrations, similar to mandalas. You know, you can see that in these mandalas that are created in the Buddhist tradition. So very similar purpose. They're visual expressions of sound vibrations. And so, and these sound vibrations are channeled through the shaman in ceremony. So I did a very in-depth thesis and project around this work. And in that situation, I started spending time in the jungle and working with shamans and doing these purification processes that that they do there. And it's a very ancient tradition, and you work with plants and you work with your diet. It's called la dieta, and which means diet. And so it's a very specific ceremonial process that's done in the Amazon, and the purpose is really to purge and to recalibrate your whole system in alignment with Gaia. And so that's the purpose of being in the jungle. And it's kind of, you go off the grid as well. You have no communication in this specific way that I did it with this shaman. It was done in the traditional way, where you go into the jungle and you do not have communication with the outer world. So there's no phone, there's no computer, and you are immersed in nature. So that means there's no shower, you know, you bathe in the river, and it's can be a period of a couple of weeks that you're in this process. And so it was, so at first I was terrified to go. I would make the arrangement and then cancel. I did that like twice. I was very scared, you know, of, mainly because of the that I wouldn't be able to communicate with my son. I had a young son at the time. You know, he was 3, I think, when I went. And so that was the issue for me, that that something could happen and I wouldn't know, you know. And so then it took about 3 years. I think I went when he was 6 is when I went, and I had 4 different dietas, 4 different experiences there. And so anyway, but when I got there, when I finally made it there, you know, like I, you know, made it through the Dragon's Gate and I arrived, it was so incredibly magical. It was like just completely being enfolded by Mother Earth in a very beautiful, nurturing way. It really was living in another dimension. And just experiencing this magic, the magic of Mother Earth, and just being enfolded and integrating with Gaia. In that, you know, there were jaguars, there were snakes, there were you know, I saw there were bats, you know, hang sleeping in the rafters of because each individual has a hut. You know, you have like this open air hut, and that's where you sleep. And so there was, you know, the bats in the rafters, there was tarantulas, there were snakes, you know, all of those kinds of, you know, everything was there. And so you learn to just integrate with those energies and find harmony, you know, with amidst, you know, these predatory animals, and but it felt like heaven, because then you're receiving, you know, all this communication from the plants and just that greening of the heart. You know, I call it the greening of the heart, that you're just going deep into these very profound communications with Gaia in that space. And so it turned out to be heaven on earth for me. This thing that I was so afraid of, I was so, you know, because the mind imagined so many things that could go wrong. And then it wasn't an easy process. It's not that it was easy, but it was very profound, and I felt safe throughout the experience. So
Mm.
that was really powerful, way to cultivate trust, in such a deep way, to really experience um, it's like the birth of trust, where you just really learn to come into alignment whenever there's any disruption.
Mm.
Um, that was really the main teaching there, is that you are processing internally, as your fears come forth, or different types of patterns come forth, um, that you're processing internally and deepening into love, deepening into that core of the earth, and then experiencing the embodied sovereignty that we're all being called to now.
Yes.
So,
Oh, wow. That's just amazing to hear about. And like when you're talking about the greening of the heart, I can, just feel that expansion in the heart center and feel that like direct connection with Gaia that you had, because I guess most of us, like, we get the safety from the civilization that we're living in, where whatever country or place, we know how everything works. We know, like, if anything happens, I will phone and dial this number to get the ambulance. And whereas what you were talking about, I could feel like this, it's Mother Earth, it's Gaia that is providing that, you know, directly. That's where my safety and my nourishment is coming from. And the civilizations we're living in, I guess it's an interpretation of that energy, they're sort of but it's not the direct source. It's going to have a lot of other thought forms in it, let's say.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. So those types of experiences, they really change your perceptions and really
Yeah.
change your way of being in the world, because I was coming from a way of being that was so mental and
Yeah.
academic, and receiving knowledge from books, and which is amazing, which was a wonderful journey. But I really shifted from that academic career to really honoring my own the knowledge that is, this channeled information, and really honoring that, and really finding so much depth through experience, as opposed to reading about it. And so it's like this very deep knowledge and very deep transformation comes through experience. You have to experience it.
Absolutely. And what an incredible story. Your family coming from Cuba and the experiences of growing up. And again, I can see parallels there between us because I also had an upbringing that didn't give me any skills in emotional stuff. I had to go and have a lot of therapy and learn how to do this because I really didn't know, apart from repressing and dissociating. And it was something I was forced into when my mum died when I was 26, because I had
Mhm.
nothing, I had no way of grieving. I didn't know. So I would go and sit in a therapist's office every week, and she taught me how to deal with my emotions and how to grieve. And then, I did psychiatric nursing, so I learned a lot about it.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I had years of like watching people and learning myself and going on courses and practicing. And, you know, I'm really grateful for the experiences I've had. But it's like, I'm guessing that's what makes you such a good teacher. It's because you've had these experiences, you've had to learn it from the ground up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely um, the purpose,
Yeah.
is that, nothing shocks me. I've seen it all. So, when I work with people, you can be completely transparent, in whatever way that you would like, because because I have gone through this ascension process myself. So, I know how to support people that are going through these spiritual emergence, they call it, that can, if you don't know what's happening, if you don't have a guide, if you don't have support when you go through these major awakening processes, you do think that there's something wrong with you, and then you'll go to a doctor that will tell you there's something wrong with you. And then, so many of us have gone that route as well, and we've kind of had to unravel some of that. But again, it's the experience. That's how we know how to support others in a way that is beneficial.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast. Is one, I just love talking to people. Two, I feel like people like us need more avenues to have a voice. And three, it's really important for people to hear that all the people that are in a position now where they're helping other people, they're also human beings, and they have a human history. They didn't start sort of from this place, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm not really psychic because I haven't had a vision when I was 1 year old. Or people make a lot of assumptions about, oh, well, I can't heal because this, that. And then when you hear people talking who maybe you admire and put on a bit of a pedestal, you hear what they've been through and you hear where they've come from, and you're like, oh my God, I identify with so much of that. So if they can do it, I can do it, and it's just like, it's so important that we share that and don't like have people like, putting others on a pedestal unnecessarily, because we're all in a circle
or
together.
like, for sure. Like, for example, if you have clairvoyant abilities, so that is a visionary capacity. So, this is a capacity to travel shamanically, for example, to have visions, to experience altered states of consciousness. Okay, that's a skill. Being able to move gracefully and easily through different dimensions, that is a skill. Now, if you're in an environment where that's not valued, and nobody understands this and nobody is interested in this, but you have this gift, what are you going to do with it? Well, maybe you're going to become an alcoholic. That's a common way to go. You may be exploring these substances, as a way to alter your consciousness, because you don't have access. This is one of the things I really learned at the museum when I would study African art, is that all these rituals that they would do were part of community life. It was just part of their spiritual practice was a community based experience. And the art making was a community. Like in Western art, there's like the genius artist and the special person who goes off by themselves and makes art, and they're a genius, of course. And we have Van Gogh in your neck of the woods, who was one of these people who was so sensitive and clairvoyant and visionary, but it turned against him because he didn't have this outlet in his in his upbringing and his state. He was a mystic.
Yeah.
But the structure that he was born into was very limited, was very limiting. It was this Protestant, very harsh kind of view of spirituality. And he was a mystic, he was a visionary. So it turned against him. So this often happens to us, and it will show up with some kind of addiction, some kind of maybe a codependent relationship, an abusive relationship that we just can't let go of. And things like this will come up in our lives as a way to transform, because it's the same energy, that same sensitivity that makes you vulnerable to drug addiction is the same sensitivity that you use to to tap into the galactic Magdalene lineage. It's the same thing. So we choose. So there's like the shadow quality, and then there's the light. And so many of us, we have to travel in all the realms so that we recognize the light, we recognize our path, and we know how to transform those situations, those types of manifestations
Mm.
of this oppressed energy, this energy that does not have an outlet. It turns against you in a way. And so there's very specific work that we can do to transform that into the gift and the talent. So that's one of the things, that's kind of a mission that I have, to support others, to see, that what is that thing that has been your biggest struggle, that biggest suffering. That's the key to your greatest asset, to your greatest gift and talent.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. Whatever the worst thing has been, there's the keys in that to
Yeah.
actually the best thing that you can bring about in your life. And you know, when you go through that process, then those terrible things become a beautiful thing, and that is just it's so healing, isn't it?
Yes. It's very empowering. And then you completely transform this what's wrong with me separation consciousness, because that's what it is. It's separate vibration of separation. So it's like, what's wrong with me? I did this wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
completely transforms into embodiment, embodied sovereignty, where you are very clear who you are and how you express yourself. And you're emanating this light out into the environment. And there's like a ripple effect in the environment. You're just walking around and you're raising the vibration of your environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was one or two other things I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if it'll come together as the same thing or whether you want to sort of address them separately. But I had this, so like when I was looking at your website and the whole Sarah thing and the green energy, it's just such a strong new earth energy. And I just wanted to ask you a question about that and like what's your vision, or I don't know, just for you to say some words about that. And also, I really love your light language. It's really, really beautiful. Really, it's just magical. And I wanted people to be able to hear that. And I don't know, like if you want to address those separately or together, or I'll leave it in your hands, Anna.
We could do a little process, if you'd like,
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
where we could, and then I can channel the light language. Would you like to do that? I mean, it can be just a few minutes,
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
and
Thank
then
you.
can experience the Emerald Gaia, because that is the vibration of the green, what I call the Green Mother activations that I offer. And so we work with the ascended Gaia, and that is the Emerald Gaia. So we can do a process, very simple process of connecting with. This is something that you can do every day, like taking a shower. You set the energy in alignment with Gaia. So we can do that. Just a
Yeah,
simple
yeah.
simple process. So we can just close our eyes and just take deep breaths into the body. And this is how we begin every energy work, is to come into the body, come into that stillness, and the focus on the heart, the inner quantum field. And that's very easily done. You just close your eyes and connect. Focus on the heart area of the body and breathe into that area. And then we just immediately start to feel a stillness when we do this, following the breath, focusing on the heart. And this is our direct connection to source, that inner wellspring of infinite love that is in all of us. And then we put our focus on the womb area, or the creative center of the body. So if you're in a male body, the sexual organs of the male body. So we put our attention there, and that area, we're going to ground that area through the root chakra and see a line of energy that goes through all the layers of the earth, and received by the Emerald Gaia, the Ascended Gaia. So we can just say hello to her, the core of the earth. This very rich, fertile vibration. And it's it brings forth this feeling of balance and depth that we can draw from throughout our day. And you can feel that beautiful earth energy rising up through all the layers of the earth, from that diamond core all the way up into the body, through the soles of the feet, through the energy channels of the legs, through the creative center, the solar plexus, into the heart. And then we receive the cosmic light through the crown of the head. So we call forth the cosmic light, and that enters in through the crown of the head. This golden light. This is the Christed light. This is the vibration of Yeshua coming forth now into the crown of the head and balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain, cleansing, purifying, bringing into balance the masculine and the feminine, the left and right hemispheres of the brain, into the third eye, this Christed light, clearing and cleansing the communication center, the throat. This is an area that really benefits from just putting attention on the throat and allowing that golden light to cleanse and purify the throat area. Just all those times that we weren't able to express what we wanted to express, any vibration of feeling silenced or being misunderstood, just allow that to come up. And this golden light is just clearing and cleansing all of those kinds of energies as you connect with your authentic expression. And that cosmic light merges in with the earth energy in the heart. And so this is the fusion of heaven and earth that occurs in the heart. And that emerald vibration, it's an emerald ray of self-realization, begins to emanate out from the heart and being absorbed by every cell of your body. So receive this ascended Gaia, the emerald Gaia in your heart, this amazing connection that is always feeding and nourishing you. And the vibration of Marie de la Mer is coming forth in Sarah, the sacred site on the coast of southern France. So, and this water alchemy, so, and the Divine Mother, it's the most healing vibration, the Divine Mother, coming forth in the heart from Marie de la Mer, to bring into balance. It's almost like calling forth all of parts of yourself that we've dismissed or we've even been afraid of. Calling forth all of our gifts and talents as light workers and clairvoyants and clairaudience. All of these gifts are coming forth, these sensitivities being awakened inside of us, being given space, being given acknowledgement. You have all of these gifts inside of you. Divine Mother Sophia and the Shekinah, which is the indwelling presence of the divine that awakens as we experience the sacred marriage. The indwelling presence of the divine is revealed. And we see ourselves as divine beings of light incarnate. And we have that experience of our own divinity and expressing that divinity in the world around us. Completing patterns of separation and accessing new, fresh energy streams of starlight and sovereignty and creative expression that is unique to each of us. Each one of us has a very unique gift and mission. So honoring that we all have our purpose and our mission and our unique contribution to the transformation of consciousness. And a number code is coming forth, 333, luminous light. So just receive this luminosity from the Divine Mother. Just receiving this beautiful blessing from Sarah, Ascended Master Sarah, who is here to support us so powerfully and with so much grace. So much grace. So just receive that blessing. Allow your heart to absorb this light. Breathe into the heart, this emerald ray. So you visualize this emerald, this color, you visualize it being absorbed into the heart. And it assists you to raise the vibration of this area and come into this multi-dimensional communication with the Emerald Gaia and the Divine Mother. Offering gratitude, receiving, and then offering blessings in a relationship, divine to divine. So dissolving any hierarchy that, this relationship with Sarah is divine to divine, divine light being communicating with divine light being. So you are divine. She's really expressing that we are this equanimity, experiencing ourselves as equal. That is the true humility. You're not more, you're not less. We're all meeting each other as divine beings of light, divine to divine. So we just allow that to integrate this beautiful message of grace. Breathing into the heart as we complete this transmission and offering so much love and gratitude. And so this is what is alignment, aligning with Gaia, your own heart, and the cosmic light. This is your alignment. It's very simple and can be done at any moment throughout your day to reset and align with the divinity that is you.
Thank you, Anna. Can't thank you enough. That was just so divine, so lovely, so beautiful. It just brought it all together, and it's like I'm really nice and grounded. I'm peaceful. I'm centered. It's like this is fantastic.
I know, me too. I feel amazing. This has been great. This is a love fest, Rachel.
I know.
Love fest.
I know. I know.
So thank you so much for this amazing conversation. Wonderful.
I mean, before we finish, are there any last bits that you wanted to add in there that you haven't? Anything that you offer? Anything that's coming up? Is there any last words from you?
Oh, okay. So if you're on Meetup, Monday at 1 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, I will be offering the Cosmic 222. It's a code, the Cosmic Star Child transmission. So on February 22nd at 1 p.m., we'll be offering the Cosmic Star Child transmission on Meetup. So you can just go on meetup.com and search for the Virtual Goddess Channeling and Alignment Circle. It's called the Virtual Goddess Channeling and Alignment Circle, and you can find me there. and join us on Monday.
Wow.
For
And
deeper
is that on your website as well? Have you got a link on there?
Actually, I don't have it on there.
Okay.
But my Facebook, I'll be putting some links on
Yeah,
my Facebook page
yeah.
and
That's
and
the Gaia Art Bar. Is that right? Gaia Art Bar. Yeah, I'll put the
Gaia
links in.
Art
I'll
Bar.
put the links in anyway underneath so
Gaia
people
Art
can
Bar
see them.
is my Facebook page, and then Quantum Light Practice is the website, and then the channeling circle is something that it's weekly. It changes sometimes, but that's like our weekly gathering, and I am going to um, make it part of the courses, that it's part of, it's like a weekly meeting that we'll be doing as part of the Emerald Gaia membership, which is a course that I have on the website. So if you're not able to find it on meetup.com, you can contact me through my website or on Facebook, and I can send you the link.
Brilliant. Okay.
If
Well, thank you so much for today. I was really excited about meeting you. I knew it was going to be like this. I knew we would love each other.
Oh, I love you, Rachel. It's been a pleasure. It's been so beautiful to come together and share and find that we have so much in common, that we've been on such a parallel path, and I hope that one day we can meet in person. That will be amazing.
Yeah.
And visit the
Absolutely.
sacred springs.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I'm looking forward to hearing from people after they've listened to the show and are writing in to say how much, they loved what you're doing. And, it's going to be fantastic. So I want to say thank you to everyone, to all of our listeners. I know that you will have received something very special from Anna, just as I have today. And see you again next time. So bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Blessings.